Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm a Cal Poly Q+ student in Rels 201, exploring the diversity of religion and religious beliefs with the help of my friends and Professor Moffat, or Prof. Moff as we like to call him. Growing up in my early childhood, I was surrounded by a strong culture of Southern Baptism and omnipresent Christianity, where the two churches in my town were competing Baptist churches, with a rivalry and history of violence between them. While I called myself Christian because I knew nothing else, I was not tightly tied to the term. It was a group that I think strongly misrepresented Christianity for me, and even may have instilled in me some bias and distaste for worship. In 2007, I moved to Boulder, Colorado, a town which was recently found to be the second least religious town in all of America, according to the Denver Post. Just 0.1% more religious than the least religious city of Burlington, Vermont. I quickly dropped my title of Christian and soon proclaimed myself a stout atheist. In reaction to this, my mother took me to a series of Unitarian Universalist sermons to try teaching me about opposing opinions and open my mind a little more. She was not successful. Taking me to sermon only took me away from Pokemon and left me closed to anything I was told. Skip a few years into the future, and after some adventures, some maturing, and learning to consider other people's beliefs through my own experiences, I relabeled myself as agnostic and decided that I could no more claim to know that there was no God as I thought anyone could claim to know that there is one without an argument. Of course, I didn't know the arguments that differing religious groups held, and so I resolved to experiment and discover these. This resolution is one that I made just before coming to Cal Poly, and so Rels 201 offered me the perfect chance to do just that. Upon being prompted to tell the story of one aspect of religious pluralism and diversity in my life, I decided that I had not seriously experienced any, and so I would take a risk and actively explore spirituality in new ways in a place more religious than my home. To do this, I elected to do a little extra work and take my weekend to attend as many places of worship as I could, and ask fair questions with an open mind to feel diversity of religion in my life. Here's what I learned. During the service at Grace Chapel, I worshiped, sang, enjoyed communion, and was gifted a personal Bible. The sermon that I was professed by Pastor Brian was on the book of Daniel and the beastliness of humanity. I was told the story of how Daniel, while captive in Babylon, had a prophetic dream where he saw 4 beasts fall into the sea and watch as the Son of Man rode a cloud to be accepted at God's side, and how this represented Jesus, proving that man could move past his sin and his primal beastliness. Everything that I was told aligned with what I'd been taught in Rels. I understood what Pastor Brian told me when I asked him why he chose to worship as a Christian, and he replied that Christians are a flawed people. We are all a flawed people, but Christian people recognize this, and we see this and ask God to raise us up with a power that we don't have. But what I experienced firsthand that I could never have learned in Rels was the total devotion that was shown by the individuals in church. During songs, people raised their arms to take in the Spirit, and I was both awestruck and somewhat unnerved by the way that they were completely absorbed. After church, I attended the White Heron Sangha of Avila Beach, a Buddhist meditation center located right next to a pizza shop and a deli. Here, I was welcomed in for the 7:30 meditation, along with one man and one woman whose names escape me. After brief introductions, a singing bowl was struck and we meditated for 30 minutes in silence. We ended the meditation and engaged in further conversation, where my partners in meditation told me that they held the first noble truth of dukkha to be universal, and that they practiced to escape it. Interestingly, one member of the meditation practice was a Zen Buddhist who held true to specifically that belief. The other, however, had taken parts from each form of Buddhism that they knew, to best match their philosophy, providing a nice dichotomy for me to investigate. The feel of the group, small and quiet, was a stark contrast to the loud and fiery community of Christians that I met at church, but just as dedicated to their beliefs. For the third and final part of my journey, I took a 20-minute drive down to Halcyon and the People's Blue Star Temple, the headquarters of American Theosophy. I found myself unable to participate in the activities of worship and meditation, as the grounds of the temple were empty and the doors were closed. I wandered around the empty grounds, asking passerby how I felt I might gain access. The prophetic sign above the entrance, which read, "Creeds die, hearts remain," felt ironic. 5 minutes or less down the road, I found myself directed to Eleanor, the star and leader of Theosophy. With her, I had a short discussion on the universality of dedication to belief and belief in some higher goal that I had seen in Christianity and Buddhism, as well as the wisdom in exploring the differing religions like I'd been trying to do. I've made an appointment with her on Thursday to talk more. Theosophy may not be as powerful as it once was, but its prophecy came true, not only in that creeds disappear, but also that they live on in hearts, just like Theosophy does in its believers. This part of my exploration tied together my findings and let me conclude what I'd learned. So what did I decide? What's my big takeaway? What's the conclusion that will make or break my journey and probably my grade for that matter? Am I a convert? What part do I play in diversity? Well, in regards to diversity, I think I participate in it unconsciously because I am a result of it. I am a part of California's polytheistic tendencies. Perhaps I am a convert, but not to any one religion in specific, and I am still an agnostic. I take lessons from every group that I've learned about, and in all of the groups I've studied, I find things that I agree with and that I disagree with. Why choose? California doesn't have to, and neither do I. From Christianity, I take the belief that humanity left alone, without regulation and without thought, is beastly. From Buddhism, I take the idea that nothing is constant but change, so I take pleasure in the change and escape suffering in my way. From Judaism, I take the ideas of Yetzer Hatov and Yetzer Hara, the good and the bad urges, and I choose Yetzer Hatov to take the good. From Theosophy, I accept that no religion is higher than truth. I am still searching for truth, and Rels 201 may have been a good start to my spiritual search, but it is certainly not an end.